So this happened quite a while ago, but it had been bugging me ever since. Therefore, I will share it with you and maybe get some opinions. Last year around August, I'd say I was at my grandparents' house to stay the night since I don't see them very often. Everything was normal that night. We had dinner, joked, and watched TV. I'm a night owl, so everyone had gone to bed before me. Around 2:30 a.m., I retired to the guest room, which used to be one of my favorite rooms ago when we lived there. I got ready for bed and set up my laptop so that I could have some music to listen to while I fell asleep. Now I'll tell you when I lived there, there was a couple of supernatural things that happened to me, but none of them were bad or scary. For example, I am a very light sleeper. And if someone even walks on the carpet outside my door, I will hear it and wake up. In that room, however, if it was cold and all the covers were on the floor or the window was open, I would wake up tucked in and the window shut. This time was a different story. In that room, there is a corner where there is a sort of mini hall before you reach the door. Around 3 a.m., I looked toward the place where the hall juts out and saw a horrifying creature. It wasn't completely physical, but almost like something you would see in your mind's eye if you try to understand what I mean. I have never seen anything like it. I couldn't tell whether it was supposed to be male or female. It was white with a grayish tinge to its skin, extremely bony, and the skin, although it seemed stretched tight, still seemed loose, however, and had little wrinkles everywhere. The body itself was strange as well. It had skinny arms that were extremely long and out of proportion to a normal human body. The fingers too long as well. Then I saw the face. Although I knew it was staring at me, I couldn't really see the eyes. Just two black shadowy pits. The nose either wasn't there or not noticeable, and the mouth I could see pretty clearly. I could vaguely see the lips, which were not any sort of expression on it. However, something was smeared over its lips and face in a way that resembles a grotesque grin. My guess is that it was blood. The head was covered with wild, medium-length black hair. The creature was sticking out sideways from the hall, just staring at me. Thankfully, my face generally looked apathetic, so I'm assuming I didn't look freaked out. Then I proceeded to turn on my music and try to go to sleep. Nothing happened that night. Then a couple of months later, I was at my friend's apartment and I was laying on the floor attempting to go to sleep once again. It was also about 3 a.m. that time as well. Laying on the floor with my eyes open, I see the creature laying on its stomach staring at me. I closed my eyes to try to ignore it, but that didn't work. Even though my eyes were closed, I could still see it. It was crawling towards me at a rather fast pace until it was only a few inches from my face. Stupidly, I opened my eyes to face it, but when I did, it was gone. I haven't seen it since and have never seen it in my own house. Also, no, I don't have any history of hallucinations. I don't do drugs, smoke anything, rarely drink alcohol, and don't do any rituals or anything. Please let me know if you have any theories on what it might be and why. Thanks.
Demon. I don't have OCD. Just to make things clear, I do not have OCD. I understand it's out of the blue, but I feel it is necessary to say this. I may do something with my right hand that I then have to recreate with my left, but I have no such disorder. I don't have ADD either. Dementia has not contaminated my mind, and I have grown to accept what slips past its defenses, either accidentally or with an open door. Never would I dare to say insanity is a disease on its own. No, never would I dare to say insanity is a disorder. Sanity, now that's the deadly one. It works at turning all you know into all you care about. Telling my story will never come off as sane to anyone. No one but myself will understand the normal insanities I extract from the pits of my peers' minds. Trying to place a darkened mind like mine into the mild meadow of another's head is just as questionable as a hawk robbing parents of their child, all while expecting the distorted moans from the child's alcohol-infused parents. You know of the potential consequence of taking someone's innocence. In fact, you are very certain that the consequences you have made in your mind will be plucked out and displayed into reality. But you do it nonetheless, because you feel that such pain and learning is necessary. I know you aren't curious, disturbed, or even a bit concerned, are you? No. You walk out every day holding this belief that your day will be the same today as it was yesterday, as it will be tomorrow. You're stuck in limbo, aren't you? How pitiful. You don't even know what limbo is. I apologize. You know exactly what limbo is, don't you? You only call it by another name. You call it life. Now, my life is not limbo only because I am not trapped by the same occurrences every year, every month, and every day. You are oblivious to limbo because you are trapped inside it. You don't realize you've gone full circle by your own free will. You don't want to look for the unknown or venture out into the vast nothingness of your certain collapse. You just want to sit down and enjoy what you have been seeing for the past years. However, I must tell you of the dreadfulness of my encounters. That is, if I dare finish the story myself. The pain of the simple text may not break you alone, but the ache that follows, it will. I do have one request. Understand that when you walk away from and desert what I have told you, you will become one of the many mindless freaks I have warned you about. Pay close attention to how I escaped limbo. I was sitting on a simple couch on a Saturday evening. Nothing special about the occasion. The dark leather of the couch reflected the mood that the brightest star in my mind could fabricate. I was minding my own business with my own company in my own residence. The building, if you can even call it that, was reaching 140 years. The beds cracked as much as my detrimental mind, and the tainted windows allowed me to see less than the impossible hearts of others. It is the couch, the dark, thick leather couch that consumes me in my joyful sorrows the most. I suppose that's why I can't stay off of it. I hear a knock on my wooden door, which is rather peculiar, considering the slab of wood will give anyone daring enough to look at its splinters. Not to mention, I don't allow anyone near my house anyway. I decided to ignore the distractions and continue to sink into the dreary cushions when a light bulb goes out. Seeing as this happens on a regular basis, I reached from a basket of new bulbs and took a new, yet darkened bulb. I sat back from the now radiating lamp, hoping to catch a glimpse of my emotions. As I have learned before, any nuisance willing to occur once has the willpower to recur until it strikes the best of me. The light dimmed for a while, but eventually faded away, leaving me in blackness. I noticed what was happening, although I denied it at first. The door. Someone is at the door. No, they can't be. Why would they be here? One knock, two knocks. No. What could they possibly want? What could it want? 3 knocks, 4 knocks, and on the 5th knock, the dead bulb burst into pieces. No, I can't. How am I to possibly muster up the strength? I must. I can't. I know what I have to do. I rise from the sinking couch and walk to the hallway. Family photos are replaced by despair. I hear the shrieks of demons. The only question is whether they are mine or the ones at the door. I see him, but I hardly notice him. Why does he look so different? He raises his dreadful skull and forces his necromancy into my chest, leaving a scar from my left shoulder to my ribs on my right. I fall to the ground and watch him insufferably moan to the masters as he is dragged under the earth into Hades. With a gasp, I jump from my bed. I was dreaming. I was only dreaming. I don't understand. It felt so real. How does my mind conjure the pains even I cannot understand? The door attracts my attention. Another knock at the door, and I am lured down the beaten staircase. I brace for impact as I open it. To my surprise and relief, it seems to be a young woman. There also seems to be something off about the lady. She extends her right hand. I would look at her, but I can't. My eyes to diverge from her beautiful yet expressionless face. Will she do what I think she will? She can't. Can she? No, not now. She can't. I'm fully covered by my shirt. I stand there, terrified. I stand there. She drags her finger from my left shoulder to the ribs on my right. I blink. She disappears.
When I was 12 years old, I'm 17 right now, me and my friend, we'll call him Jake, decided to record a video of ourselves playing Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. I was recording and it got about 10 minutes in, and on the camera screen, it switched from what actually being recorded or what the lens was pointing at to this room, indescribable. It was pretty dark, and this creepy looking lady, almost like The Grudge mixed with a girl from The Exorcist, smiled and waved. Then it switched back to what the lens was pointed at. I flipped out and stopped recording, and my friend and I were watching the video 30 times to make sure it was real. It was. I, being a little 7th grader, was scared as fuck, deleted it. Fast forward to when I was 15. I was, and still currently am, in a long-distance relationship, so I decided to take a picture in the bathroom using a mirror. I sent it, then she replied, babe? Who's that in the corner? I looked. It's the fucking demon girl from the video. I shit you not. I don't know if this is a demon. I don't know what it is. I'm just now deciding to write about this, as I did not know about the no sleep section of Reddit until last night, but I really want help. A friend of mine suggested that I upload it to Reddit and see what everybody thinks. I'm an atheist, by the way. A friend of mine will be sleeping the next night, and he will be bringing a Bible, so I will read it out loud and upload it regardless if I think anything happened or not, for you all to inspect to see if that thing will appear again, and if it does, hopefully I could get some sort of proof of it to know I didn't just imagine it.
Becoming a demon. As part of my research for my comic books, I regularly visit a website dedicated to chronicling various superpowers. Powers range from the awesome, such as flying via jet propulsion, to the terrifying, such as turning into a swarm of spiders, to the absurd, such as transforming into a living spoon. The numerous powers are sorted into a number of categories, as healing powers, combat powers, and elemental manipulation. There is even a category called real power, which has powers and abilities that are more likely to appear in real life, or are very close to abilities existing in nature. One day, while searching the site, I found the article for a power called demonization, which was the ability to turn others into demons. I sadly reflected that demonization is something which has happened to people in real life. You may laugh derisively at the comment and think, "Oh what, you think some infernal being can appear from the underworld and shine some sinister ray at someone and they'll grow horns and cloven hooves and be transformed into some fiendish monster?" No, not at all. I'm not talking about something you might see in a comic book. I'm referring to something more horrible and which is all too common. The process starts when someone develops a strong and irrational antagonism towards a certain group of people. It could be based on past wrongs committed by members of that group. It could be based on exaggerated and distorted, if not completely made up history. Or it could be for no real reason at all. People talk about conflicts arising between people of different belief systems, religions, philosophies, political parties, economic systems, etc. Races, ethnicities, nationalities, and the like. But while such conflicts have been common, it is foolish and delusional to assume that those are the only causes of conflict. If there were only one belief system, one race, one nationality, etc. in this world, people would still find reasons to hate. It has been said that you don't need a reason to love someone, you only need a reason to hate. This is true, but sadly, some people will find any excuse to hate others. There are people who will hate others for their dwelling places, their diets, their musical tastes, the sport teams they follow, anything. Keep in mind that the most notorious feud in history of the United States, one that spanned decades and caused so much death and sorrow, was caused by a dispute over a hog. There was even a case in England in which one man fatally injured another because a voice in his head told him to injure people who whistled. Whatever the reason, someone comes to hate anyone belonging to a certain group. They start off making derogatory comments, and then, as their hatred festers, they begin thinking and even vocalizing vicious and destructive comments. Things would be better off if they weren't around. They always ruin everything. The world would be a better place if someone got rid of them. If they allow their hatred to grow and fester, their thinking gradually becomes more warped and vile. They become delusional and begin promoting any lie that advocates their viewpoint, no matter how false or cruel. It gets to the point that they fail to see members of that group as human. Not only can they not show any warmth or decency to them, but they will take delight in their suffering, hearing news about members of that group suffering. Whether it's a family losing their house in a disaster or someone getting brutally attacked or murdered, elicits amusement and a self-righteous declaration of they got what they deserved or that'll show them, rather than the human sympathy such tragedies should elicit. Eventually they decide such passive antagonism isn't enough, and they feel justified in committing cruel acts against the targets of their hatred. Threats and calls to eliminate members of that group escalate into violence, beatings, killings, the burning down of occupied houses, torture, dismemberment, rape, depravity. Nothing is considered off limits since they no longer see their targets as human. No target is too young or too weak for them to commit atrocities against. These fiends, which were once human, now have the hearts of demons and think only to dehumanize, to kill and to destroy. They have sacrificed their humanity and dedication to the persecution of those they view as something other than human. Sadly, it does not end there. Members of the targeted group develop hatred for members of whichever group commits these atrocities against them. They come to hate and dehumanize the entire group for the actions of a few. This becomes reflected in their thoughts and speech. Things would be better if they weren't here. They will always try to ruin everything. The world would be a better place if someone got rid of them. Filled with rage against their oppressors and feeling more and more that any action is justified against them, they too develop the hearts of demons, losing their humanity in the face of those who view them as something less than human. Those who have become demons thus turn others into demons as well. The good news is that this process can be stopped by consciously choosing to retain one's humanity and to see the humanness of others. It can even be reversed by turning from the trodden path of hatred and making conscious effort to rediscover one's humanity while rejecting delusions and recognizing the humanity of others. One must always choose to retain and recognize humanity. Doing otherwise will only result in the condemnation and destruction of oneself.